Welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. Your hosts, Shri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys. Hello and welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. I'm your co-host, PVSB, and when I'm not sitting in this chair co-hosting the podcast, I serve as head of industry and client engagement at Flywheel, the e-commerce accelerator division of Omnicom. My co-host, Shri, is not with me, but he is in this episode. He's the AV guy handling the recording of this episode. This episode was recorded in Las Vegas at the 2025 Consumer Electronics Show, CES. More about that later. Let me go through some housekeeping. If you're not already following us on LinkedIn, please do so. Go to LinkedIn, type in CPG Guys. And if you follow us on podcast platforms, in particular Apple and Spotify, please leave us a rating. It helps feed the algorithm, makes our podcast more discoverable by other industry contemporaries like you. And of course, leave a review as well, because we want to know what you think and help guide the direction of who we have on, what we talk about on this episode. While you're at it, make sure you're following our sister podcast, the FMCG Guys and CPG Scoop. And lastly, I'll make mention of check the digital liner notes of this episode for links to all our podcasts and our sister podcasts, the Raj Family Media Empire, and of course, the Cornell University Retail Media Strategy Executive Education Program, taking place this May 5th through the 8th in New York City on Roosevelt Island at Cornell Tech. It's going to be one of those rooms where it happened. And if you are a CMO level brand marketer, or you are a retailer in the retail media space or a lead merchant, this is a room you're going to want to be in, because we're going to be building strategy around the future of collaboration between brands and retailers in a performance marketing driven world. So check out the liner notes of this episode. You'll find a link to Cornell, and we hope to see you in New York City this summer. With that, I'll make mention of the fact that today's episode was recorded on the second day of CES. It was at Las Vegas in the Park MGM Hotel. It was a breakfast that was hosted by CVS Media Exchange. Our two guests are Parbs Dhariwal, the Vice President General Manager of CVS Media Exchange, the retail media arm of CVS Health, and Andrew Lipsman, founder of Media Ads Commerce and a notable industry analyst, as they talk about survey results that were fielded by Andrew and indicate how brands are planning to spend against retail media in 2025. I hope you find this conversation to be as interesting as I did moderating the panel. With no further ado, here's our episode. Hey everybody, thank you for joining us this morning. I hope you're all having a really great CES, not too hungover from whatever festivities you were at last night. I'm PVSB. I'm one of the CPG guys. My partner Shri is the cameraman. He's doing the AV check for us today. But I want to thank you all for joining us this morning at this breakfast briefing that is sponsored by our friends at CVS Media Exchange. Before we get to our topic, I want to introduce to you our two panelists. First and foremost, he is an analyst in the industry with great experience at companies like eMarketer. His name is Andrew Lipsman, and he is the founder of Media Ads and Commerce. Did I get that right? You got it right? Okay, nailed it. Boom, number one, done. And on to his left, most people need no introduction, but I'll do it anyhow. In his case, he is the general manager and vice president for CVS Media Exchange, the retail media arm of CVS Health. His name is Parbinder Dhariwal. He goes by the name of Parbs. So Parbs, Andrew, welcome.
Thank you, Peter.
It's good to have you both here.
Good to be here.
I will do our best to be louder.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us at the back?
Can you hear us okay?
Can you hear? Okay.
It's hard to hear, I would say.
Who's on the mics?
I
don't know.
That's it.
That's the mic. It's
These
for
mics
that
are
guy.
for the camera. So that's it. Unfortunately,
Gotcha.
we'll do our best to talk to all of you. If at any point you're not hearing us, just raise your
wave.
hand and that'll signal us to talk even louder. So we're gonna talk a little bit about this morning some research that Andrew conducted with quite a number of consumer packaged goods companies about their expectations on retail media investment in 2025. That report's going to be available through Andrew's site.
I'm posting on LinkedIn.
And I'll post it on LinkedIn. Okay, good.
After this.
Good. So what I'm going to do is I've got a series of questions for Andrew that relate to the research he's done. And after he's answered, I want to get Parbs' approach or his perspective from the point of view of CVS Media Exchange on how they are reacting to what these brands are telling us about how they're planning to invest in 2025. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right.
Let's do it.
So I'll start with Andrew. Andrew, you recently wrote an article entitled 2025 is the year of full funnel retail media, right? What is driving the prediction behind this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen over the last couple of years, obviously the first era of retail media has been on-site search specifically. We've seen that we're starting to move up the funnel into off-site, into streaming TV, which I think is really starting to come into center stage, and then in-store. And that's both in-store media and increasingly the use of in-store purchase data, right? We forget about this in this e-commerce view of the world, but that's 85 to 90% of sales. Like that's where the data is. That's going to fuel the targeting and the measurement, the attribution of the closed loop promise. So this year, I think everything that's been happening is an undercurrent the last couple of years is starting to come together holistically, where the conversation shifts, I think, to the CMO. Like I'm pointing directly at the CMO this year and saying, you can't just have e-commerce off in the corner.
It can't be a separate discipline.
Not at all. And almost forgotten, like, let the e-commerce people handle that. No, not good enough.
And not only the e-commerce, but like just the trade shopper marketing person, where a lot of retail media networks are seeing the activation occurring.
I think we got a little obsessed as well, didn't we, with e-commerce? Like everybody was all about e-com, growth of e-com. How do we drive e-com? I think we've just got to. That's got to change a little bit, right? Because it's just not necessarily the way
because
that the
that's
consumer
more
always
focused
purchases.
on. It's more focused on lower funnel activation when you talk about e-com.
Correct.
Yeah. So Parbs, from you. So based upon what Andrew just shared with us, how are you guiding CVS Media Exchange to deliver a full funnel value proposition to brands to that end? Not think just about what's happening on site.
Yeah.
How does it offer brands scaled audiences full funnel?
Yeah. Well, I think the differentiator that we talk about in the retail media space is you have retail media that has loyalty programs, and then there's retail media that does not have loyalty programs.
Right.
And if you think about the way in which the consumer behaves and shops, there is a fluidity, right? Fluidity from an e-commerce engine into a physical store environment. And we're consistently seeing that, right? Depending on the use need, depending on the state of the consumer, depending on the products that they're actually purchasing. Having that level of connectivity with the consumer across all of the channels, that's where loyalty comes in. So you've got...
And what's the value proposition that a robust loyalty program offers in terms of audience building?
Well,
when you think about media,
it's a tremendous amount of signal, right? Like we're getting signal. Signal and lack of signal loss as well. Because if you think about a consumer that goes into a store and purchases a product and pays cash, there's automatic signal loss on that consumer right off the bat.
Yeah,
the loyalty program connects that consumer all the time. Like I know,
however they shop,
and we see a 90+% one-to-one match rate on the consumer because of our loyalty program. So that attribution model becomes much more effective. When you talk about pointing at the CMO, well, you've got to point to the CMO to show the efficacy of the channel. And if we don't show the efficacy of the channel, it starts to become a PR problem. And then it doesn't matter whether you're creating full funnel tactics or not. It's how do we show them that the data that we have, the channels that we have, the media that we're targeting our consumers are showing efficacy across the entire marketplace.
And you can't do a true full funnel program across all the channels, right? And get the scale that you want, that a CMO wants, if you don't have the connective tissue.
Okay.
That connective
Correct.
tissue is the loyalty program. That data fidelity is everything. That fuels the closed loop targeting and measurement.
Okay. So looking back at the last couple of years, and particularly 2024, did you see it as being a stagnant or a growth year for retail media? And if it was growing, was in the past it was primarily driven by lower funnel on-site activation. What was different about 2024, and what do you see going into 2025 around the full funnel aspect of and the promise of retail media on a full funnel basis?
Overall market growth, still in the 20% range, but heavily skewed by Amazon and Walmart, which are 85% of the market. Very mixed bag from the rest of the market. I think to some extent this past year felt like a bit more running in place. The easy money wasn't there like it was.
I've got a Billy Joel song running through my head now. Easy money. I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be stuck all day. Thank you for that.
Well, right, we had years of incremental budgets and all this intense focus on e-commerce, and now the world has rationalized a bit, and so RMNs actually had to go out and earn it. And so there's been a lot of evolution that I think has been happening behind the scenes. And what I'm excited about as we shift to 2025 is it's ready to manifest in a very real way, right? We are going to get very sophisticated upper funnel advertising with great targeting data. And we're going to see it start to explode on TV screens. Like that's huge. That's a huge moment that we're at. And then in-store retail media gets real. I mean, I've said a million times, this is the next major media channel. It has huge scale.
With larger audiences, actually, than what you see
mega
online.
Mega audiences, right? I compare it, it's not, to me, not shopper marketing, it's TV. It's the TV of the future because it has that scale and the chance to reach people with consumer brand messages in a high-quality environment.
And that's great news to advertisers who are watching their linear television and print media audiences dwindle.
Yeah, right, you can't reach those 18 to 49-year-olds on linear TV anymore.
No.
Guess where you can reach them?
How many people don't subscribe to cable anymore, just do streaming? Like, that's huge, the fact that we've got a majority of people in this room. That says a lot, right? So, Parbs, from your perspective, how are you thinking about this change in mix, the level of spend that's occurring? Like, what are you doing from a CVS Media Exchange perspective to prepare for this transformation?
Yeah, I think, look, the last 12 months for us has been, we've seen growth, right? Pretty significant growth across our platform. So I'm not overly concerned with what's coming out of the report right now.
Okay.
And again, I don't think all retail media is created equal. I think we've got a very different kind of asset, not just with our store network, but with our loyalty program and all the rest of it that we keep talking about.
Okay.
I think what the challenge that retail media has, it has a PR problem. And the PR problem is that we've gone in as we've built certain retail media networks, and we've gone in with strong-armed the marketing departments to spend money. It's like, hey, you got to spend money, and if you don't, there's ramifications. I think we've got to take just a step back, and we've got to be able to drive performance for every single dollar that's coming through our networks.
Yeah.
And if you cannot stand by that, and you cannot stand by the way in which you are driving performance for your advertisers.
So what's the key to driving performance for the brands? What do they need to know?
They need to know incrementality.
So it's measurement is a core component.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But they also need to understand that it's measurement, but it's also how does my media that I spend on CMX or other retail media networks affect the marketplace?
Yes.
Just to think about it, like we're all consumers. We see an ad. It's an ad that's co-branded with CVS. I would love for that consumer to purchase at CVS, and we have an enormous amount of brand loyalty in that regard. But there are times when that consumer will go and purchase across the marketplace.
Yeah,
it just happens, right? But I think we've got a PR problem, and I think we've got to figure out how do we shift that narrative, certainly at the CMO level, at the brand level, in order to really unlock
The CMO level is important because, as Andrew alluded to, most of them have outsourced it to a group of people. They may not have as deep a knowledge of what retail media is.
Correct.
And until that is a core discipline in the marketing quiver of arrows, it's not going to accelerate as quickly as it should be.
And just one thing, that responsibility is not just on CMX, that responsibility is on the industry.
Oh, absolutely it is. Yeah.
Awareness issues. So, I mean, CMOs right now, like Parbs alluded to this, the attention and investment on retail media is now like as a channel in the middle of the pack. Okay.
Yep.
It's a thing, right? But in-store retail media is way behind the curve. CMOs have not focused on it at all. It's not on their radar. They're not organizationally resourced for it. So that's the sort of pessimistic view. To me, I see it as all upside.
I would argue to some degree that is a situation that is relatively unique to the United States, because when you go outside of the United States, retail media groups actually have complete ownership of everything that's activated in store, including like traditional displays and stuff, right?
It can be done. That's the majority of revenue for retail media networks in Europe. I mean, I've been pointing recently to Tesco as an example, right? The biggest grocer over there, and they're doing all sorts of in-store media. So,
there's a bit of a legal impediment in that, in the whole Robinson-Patman trade fund versus brand fund, but good retail media networks partner with their merchants and develop an approach. And I've got to imagine that your team works very closely with the merchants on investment.
Andrew referred to it recently on the CPGGUYS podcast that he did, which is there's an education problem, right?
Yeah.
There's an education challenge, and we've got to work with the merchant organization in order to help them understand the benefits that retail media can really bring.
Right.
And in-store is one of those components, because the in-store piece has been sitting with the merchant organization for quite some time.
Yeah.
I think there's a third leg of the stool here as well when we think about in-store.
Yep.
As you think about our footprint, we have around about 9,000 locations, significant traffic coming through those stores. What we are looking at, we're looking at a business which is not just like one size fits all, and our assortment and selection across the entire fleet is one, but what we're doing is we're looking at how do we localize and bring localized content and assortment into each individual CVS store. So if you look at it, right, if you look at the store in Times Square, is going to have a very different assortment to the store here on the Strip.
Of course.
Right? And it should do.
You don't even, a lot of the pharmacies on the Strip don't even have a pharmacy.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
They are essentially...
Well, I'll challenge that. Okay. Both of them do, but I'll...
I make some in the channel.
No, I 100%. 100%. Right. But what it does, the third leg of the stool is around marketing.
Yeah.
It's around how do you bring localized content to the consumer in that environment, whether it's engagement, education, whether it's around disease state awareness, there's multiple different ways in which we can bring that narrative into those local communities that we serve every single day at CVS.
And I think that, Andrew, in some research you did last year, you highlighted the fact that in thinking about in-store, expectations have to change. Right now, you have to think less about personalization and more about relevance, yes?
Yeah, well, I mean, the medium is the message, and the store is a medium.
Yeah.
And the context is where you can get this relevance, right? So thinking about CVS, I mean, allergy counts may be very high one day, right? You have a million examples of where this works. So I think there's contextual relevance that really unlocks a lot of the value. You also mentioned the local aspect of it. I've been beating the drum about TV dollars, linear TV dollars needing to come over into in-store, even if that doesn't seem logical at face value. The second piece of that is there's also these local TV advertising dollars, right?
Yes.
That's a $20 billion market that also needs somewhere better to go.
That's being underserved by the demise of local newsprint and other sources of local news.
Yes, and so those dollars need somewhere to go. And again, when you have the local context that stores can provide, I think that's the natural place.
Okay. Andrew, a recent article in Retail Brew was headlined, "Pharmacies are ready to get more mileage as retail media networks." You were quoted in this article as saying, where the market is evolving is finally playing to pharmacy's strengths. Pharmacy retail media networks are ready for prime time. What did you mean by this?
Well, they finally caught up to you guys. No, I mean, that's the reality. Look, pharmacy retail media networks, right? E-commerce, that wasn't part of the business, right? You have on-site business that's going to be more display, but that wasn't the bread and butter. But where the market's going is in-store, where you have these massive store footprints.
And audiences.
Huge transaction volume, and these other experiences. So where the market is going now is just coming right into your sweet spot.
Right. And the engagement that we have from a brand loyalty perspective in the categories that matter to the consumer, health, wellness, beauty, personal care, general merchandising, or, boxes of Las Vegas chocolates if you go to the one on the Strip. The engagement that we have with that consumer around those particular really, really important areas and product categories to that consumer. That's where, we can serve that consumer, and the data asset that we have, again, through Extra Care, really, really enables and brings that to life. So, yeah, we're glad that they're finally.
Before I forget, Shri wanted me to ask you, who's the merchant we need to talk to about getting CPGGUYS swag into CVS stores on the Strip? Is there someone we should?
There is.
Can you connect us?
There is, and I'm sending an email right now.
Okay, we think it could be a big category for you.
No, I think it's huge. and I think we should create its own little sort of section of it. I see a big, massive cutout of both you and Shri.
Oh my God!
Right next to
I love that. Maybe on the sphere. Ooh. Okay, sorry, I digress. So, Parbs, knowing what Andrew's saying about where the future is going in terms of the opportunity, how are you adjusting your offerings to brands looking to engage consumers in-store or off-site or whatever? What are you focusing on?
Yeah, we're going to be really bullish on in-store this year. We've been quietly building our in-store screen network. Whether that's screens at the pharmacy, you're going to see other screen placements coming in. We've been testing on our end caps, digital end caps, and bringing them to life.
Okay.
We believe that there is an opportunity around measurement as well. So we're working on something as it relates to that. There's additional data signals that we're getting as well. We announced recently that the security shrouds that are a challenge from a consumer perspective, but they're an important part of our business because shrinkage is real. They're also, we're having an unlock device on that, which is accessible through the Extra Care app, and that also enables us to really understand about how consumers are engaging in the in-store environment. The other piece that we're really bullish around is how do we bring mediums such as the audio across the entire network, or the screens into a programmatic environment. To the point to you saying around local, and for us to tap into local budgets, bringing that programmatically and enabling those screens and enabling the ad placement on those screens is really is fundamental to our strategy this year. So it's exciting. Yeah, it's really exciting. It's exciting.
Can I pull out one detail from what Parbs mentioned, just because I want to underscore the importance of this?
Yeah.
The digital end cap he mentioned, right? This is an area of the store that I think is harder to go into, and where a lot of retailers, it will probably be the last place they go. Now, there's a digital end cap on site, which is basically sponsored brand or sponsored brand video.
Right.
That is the most effective ad format in retail media today.
It drives the most click-through, most conversion.
No. The most incrementality.
The most incrementality.
It is the most incremental.
That is what brands want to hear. They're
still not investing against it enough because they're more expensive.
But like the historical problem with a lot of this is, am I just selling volume to people that were going to buy it anyhow, and therefore I'm investing in an end cap that's not driving incremental volume? You're telling me when you have a screen on an end cap, it drives incrementality.
It drives incremental sales. And the mechanism by which this works, I think, is that you have high quality context and creative close to the point of sale. Like that is the holy grail for marketing. It makes so much logical
sense.
Now bring it into the physical store. More sales happening there, bigger screen formats.
Yeah.
I think, we don't have the research yet, I think that's going to be the most impactful ad format maybe in all of marketing.
We did some research actually, and it wasn't through CMX, but it was through our enterprise organization.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get a sense of how consumers are engaging, and more importantly, what's their desire to have more screens or less screens.
Yeah.
And we found that around about 52% of our consumers find the information that they see on screens incredibly useful to their shopping experience.
They drive value.
Actually, the piece that goes further than that is that 1 in 5 consumers will purchase or make an action as a result of what they see on the screen.
That's huge.
Which is massive,
that
right?
Is.
Like 1 in 5. We have 5 million people coming through our stores every single day for our entire network.
When you think about like a traditional FSI,
yeah,
right? What would you see in terms of an activation of that? Like 0.5%? I mean, it was like it was inconsequential. 1 in 5, 20%.
1 in 5.
Wow.
1 in 5. And then if you couple that with scale, then it becomes a really important medium, right? And that's why we're very bullish around it.
So it drives incremental purchases, and when that happens, right, the retailer wins.
Yeah.
The brand whose advertising wins. The consumer wins because they actually get introduced to a product that they need and wouldn't otherwise get.
So, Andrew, I want to get to your survey and the work that you did. You asked CMOs and brand leaders about where they are with adoption and investment. My question is, are brands ready to go deeper into understanding and executing retail media, or is search still what anchors their focus on retail media?
They're still anchored more towards the past. They need to evolve. Some are more ready to evolve than others. But right now, like I asked, where is your next dollar of retail media investment going to go? And the top 3 responses were all different forms of on-site. Then after that, it's all off-site, and then in-store is still near the bottom.
Is that, again, due mostly to in your perspective, a lack of awareness and education about what those other ad units offer and why they're valuable?
Yes, it's not on their radar. They're not thinking about it. We need to make them think about it. And certainly there's a playbook for making that happen. Again, I'll point to Europe. We've seen it happen. It can happen. It should. And also their organizations right now are not configured for it. They don't have, only 16% of the brands surveyed have a person who's dedicated to in-store retail media.
Parbs, how is your phenomenal team that works with brand advertisers and brands, how are they focusing on educating and creating awareness across the full funnel of opportunities through CVS Media Exchange?
Yeah, it is that awareness, and it's about showing the efficacy of the medium. It's case studies, but the most important thing around this, whether it's at the brand level or even at the agency level, is how do you help brands buy these formats? Right, it's ease of purchase, and it can sometimes be a little clunky to buy these formats.
Right,
the creative assets are a little bit different. The store allocation is something that you have to continually consider. Do I have my products within that particular store? So it's a lot of education right now that we're bringing to market, and we have a team dedicated to this now.
And as a core component of your focus around, I know you've done a lot of work with the IAB around standardization of activities. Do you think that is a critical component around the education to get people comfortable with treating retail media as media?
Correct. Yeah. I consistently raise this flag because I think it's important. If we're gonna be as big as some of the social businesses have grown over the course of the last sort of 10, 12 years, if we're going to really make an impact on advertising as a whole, we have to make sure that there's got to be transparency in the way in which we measure. There's got to be a way in which we collectively work with the industry to drive more awareness for retail media. There needs to be education, and everybody needs to feel comfortable about it, not being like pushed into making the purchase. Let them understand the efficacy of what we can bring, and then let's make the purchase. And that's what we've been focusing on around, right? Like you got to get the fundamentals really, really sound. So yeah,
The majority of brands right now find planning, executing, and measuring in-store media difficult. Okay, so that's an impediment.
Something's got to change.
On the awareness issue, though, one thing I'm optimistic about. I'm very happy that we have large retailers like CVS who are going to be rolling out screens in full force, because you have to see it to understand it. Yeah. Once you start to see these stores look more like media channels and have a level of ubiquity, that alone is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting, where all of a sudden these CMOs are going to walk into the stores and say, oh, I need to be on top of this. They're not there yet.
So continuing on the theme of in-store retail media, there is no greater advocate for in-store retail media in our industry than you. You are
fair.
No, really. I'm that. No, but I say that in jest, but the last part in jest. But in all seriousness, you really are. And I guess my question to you is this, and I made reference to this earlier in our conversation. You said that physical stores are the new TV. Why are you inviting that comparison when most brands, frankly, are still executing retail media on all but like the top 2 or 3 retail media networks in terms of dollar volume as a shopper marketing function?
I believe it warrants national media dollars. I mean, I think that's where this market needs to evolve to, right? We can't just keep shuffling budgets around. These national media dollars, like, they're in a bubble in a sense, because the inventory on TV gets more and more constrained, and yet the TV market kind of stays the same. So CPMs have doubled. They've doubled over the course of the last decade.
And the way traditional linear television is largely measured is through marketing mix modeling, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't know about you, but that's another term for alchemy. Like you have to believe in some projection model. Like, the great thing about in-store retail media is it is closed loop performance marketing. It is such a better tool, right?
Well, it's both. That's the brilliance of it. Is, to me, I see it as both.
Yeah.
I'm not shooting a TV, by the way. I think TV is an incredible media, right? Yeah. Nothing else does the 30-second storytelling. It's just you have less of an ability to do that and less of an ability to reach people.
Right.
So to me, that may be the foundation. You need to extend your reach with the next best version of that mass reach advertising. That's in-store media. And I think what shifts the budgets is the proof point, because we do have the closed loop measurement. When you show the dollars, I've asked a lot of brands over the last week, especially, what's it going to take to really get the CMO to look differently? Yeah. And they said, it's going to be the proof points on incremental sales.
Parbs, you've been in this industry for a number of years, CVS Media Exchange and prior. In your estimation and your knowledge of working with brands, is it realistic that you see brands are going to start shifting their national linear television budgets into performance marketing and retail media to drive what they can't deliver anymore?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. It's category by category. And it's very much dependent on what we're seeing in the market. There are certain categories where the shifts that are happening from linear into retail are phenomenal, and we're definitely benefiting from that as CMX. Okay. I think there are other categories that it might be a little bit more challenging. Okay. Because I think they've always done it. It's a different kind of education, okay. And they might be certain categories that are not necessarily sort of nascent to the way in which our business are today, but I do think, with the right measurement, with the ease of purchase of the actual medium, with the education that we can drive at the brand and the CMO level, I think we can definitely start to shift that.
Okay. So we've now published over 450 episodes of the CPG Guys. If you go, thank you. That was a very subtle way of getting. No, really, don't stop. No, don't stop. But if you go back to episode 2. Shri uses a term that at the time I had never heard of in my life. And on the show, we like to break down acronyms. And he used the term ROAS. I had never done digital advertising. So I didn't know that ROAS meant return on ad spend. that has been for many years the original and fundamental measurement that you heard talked about in retail media. So my question to you, Andrew, is should we still be talking about ROAS? Does it have a place? And what really should brands and are brands focused on that are really good at retail media? What are the metrics that they're most focused on today?
Well, ROAS, they're still addicted to. This is the story of digital advertising. We often use the most available metric, even if it's not the best metric. And sometimes those metrics can lead you in the exact wrong direction.
Yeah.
I've talked to some folks who I've worked with over the course of my career who aren't focused today on retail media. And they're like, I just found out that return on ad spend isn't incremental. Like this was this huge surprise. They thought that that's what the term should be defined as. And it's like, nope, this is just a sale that happens to happen afterwards.
You send an ad to someone, they make a sale, you add up the numerator and the denominator.
Have not been caused by that, right? So where we need to go is incrementality, right. IROAS. Everyone's going to debate over what's the best methodology.
And that requires data science. It requires test and control and truly measure.
Well, there's different ways of doing incrementality as well. There's many different ways, right? Like, and we've got to make sure
that's why the work of the IAB and CVS Media Exchange to try and define what is incrementality.
Right, and we're driving incrementality, right? And we're using randomized control testing in order to bring that to market, which is really the gold standard.
Right.
But I think there's another piece here.
Okay.
There's a lot of modeling that happens as well across our business in retail media, and it gives retail media a rough ride. And I think we've got to be more transparent about where we're modeling and where we're not modeling. Because if you do not provide that level of transparency, it doesn't matter whether you're a brand or you're a shopper marketer or anywhere in between, you're not going to trust the numbers, right? And we've got to help people trust the numbers. And I believe that the IAB and the work that Jeffrey Bustos is doing, the work that Andrew is doing in the market is incredibly important for all of that transparency.
Can I say just explicitly what I think you might be alluding to, which is that MMM is consistently understating the value of retail media.
Yeah, correct. It is.
100%. If you look at some other methods, and there's a few different approaches that I like. One is causal modeling. And one of the things that's interesting about this method is that whenever you look across channels, RMNs always pop as by far the most incremental channels. By far.
Okay.
Search and social are not nearly as strong.
Let me close this out. A couple things. One, on your tables, you're going to see two things I want to call out to you. One is a QR code that'll get you to CVS Media Exchange. Take your phones out, open up the camera, scan the QR code, and learn more about what they're offering. Number two, there's an invitation to a happy hour this evening. It's on a little card there. Please take a look at it. CVS would love you to join. And I also want to particularly thank the team at CVS Media Exchange for hosting this breakfast and putting this forum together. We're greatly appreciative. Andrew, thank you for coming. You're going to put this survey research report on your LinkedIn page. Follow Andrew on LinkedIn. He produces really valuable insight and content. And last but certainly not least, Parbs, thanks for bringing this all together. And thank you for giving us the CVS Media Exchange perspective. The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPGGUYS LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPGGUYS LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPGGUYS LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPGGUYS LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.